Hello and welcome to Team Franco Bodybuilding Podcast. Hoping everyone's doing wonderful out there, getting it done both in and out of the gym. All right, let's go back to some bread and butter conversations. We're going to talk about workouts. And specifically, as you see in the title, I want to dig deeper into the PPL, or better yet known, the push-pull legs training split. Now, full disclosure, the bottom line when it comes to workouts and you achieving great success with them is your effort and your consistency. I think we can pretty much all agree upon that. Now, when it comes to your effort and your consistency, you need to find something that you kind of enjoy. I think a lot of people don't talk about that. They just look for these magic workouts because they hear of some influencer or some pro suggesting them, or even their coach, where there needs to be some flexibility on something that you kind of like doing. Yeah, discipline's a key, getting your ass in there, but you need to enjoy it a little bit because that in itself can help the inconsistency. So that's why I want to also talk about the PPL and the diversity that it brings. Now, if you are a listener of mine, I've done a number of podcasts talking about workouts, about progressions, what workout best, fits best for you. And maybe even a year or two ago, I talked about my favorite, which was like a 4-day split. So it's basically a push-pull legs with one additional day. And I gave my reasons. Well, here I am today going to tell you the last 2 months, I have revisited the PPL, made it my own, and I love it. I am actually a lot stronger. I didn't get fatter. I'm actually trying to lose body fat, but it's not because of body weight. I think it's because the increased frequency of hitting each muscle group has really made a difference. And some of my big lifts have gone up, and I haven't seen these numbers in 15 years. Now, we'll see how I look after I lose body fat, but it's pretty neat. And, obviously I've done this workout when I was a child, teenager, because this is what Arnold used to do. So that was the basics I wanted to cover. And now I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts of the whole podcast itself on why I do believe it could be beneficial for all levels. And when I say that is because if you're first starting out, there's nothing wrong with doing a 3-day split PPL as long as you can train 3 or 4 days a week. Therefore, you're hitting each muscle group once. And the more advanced people, you can basically hit everything twice in a 7-day period. And we're learning that frequency is important as long as volume is spread out appropriately. So, nuts and bolts, what is a PPL? Push-pull legs. Typically, the push is when you train your chest, shoulders, and triceps. The pull is back and biceps. And then your legs, lower body. You can train 3 days on, 1, 2, 3, rest, repeat. You can do 2 days on, rest, 2 days on, rest, whatever. Because ultimately, the goal and the benefits of the PPL is greater frequency, like I mentioned to you earlier, where you are hitting everything twice, but ultimately you got to learn how you recover. And I think that was one of the issues, because when I revisited the push-pull legs, and I did it after I competed in 23, thinking that I needed to make up some time because of, the training going into a contest is not the greatest just because you're feeling like shit. And I was like, let me go back to a 3-day split PPL again. And I couldn't handle it. My body wasn't ready, where I wasn't properly fueled to help with recovery. So that's a real life experience that I went through. And then I tried it for a month. And I was like, nope, I'll go back to the 4-day split. So the benefits of the PPL, as I was talking about, is the frequency. And we know increased frequency of training certain body parts, certain exercises, you're going to get better, right? So if you're focusing on learning how to squat, ask yourself this: are you going to get better if you squat once a week or twice a week? I would lean on the side of doing twice a week because you have greater repetition of learning how to get better at the particular movement. And this goes for all exercises. And obviously, when you get better, the sooner that you get better at learning an exercise, the sooner that you connect to the exercise, you're going to get stronger. And then when you get stronger, you're going to gain more muscle tissue. So that is leading to the fact that you get better technique, mind muscle connection, pump activation, more muscle growth. And that is ultimately what we're after. And that's why I'm not the biggest fan of the old school bro split, training one muscle group per week. Yeah, you may be hitting the same amount of volume, which I'm going to go into, but you're waiting another 7 days to actually hit that muscle group again. Where if you train the same muscle group every fourth or fifth day, you're ultimately going to get better at it, which is going to get closer to the goal of gaining muscle tissue. So some of the other benefits, is obviously the frequency. And just to go deeper into this, where to me it's a great selling point, and why I have beginners following it, is because life stuff happens, right? You may be training, you may be getting, your 5 or 6 days a week, each muscle group, 1.5 to 2 times a week, but then you may get sick and only train 3 days a week. Or you may have to travel for work or holidays or whatever, and you can only get in 3 days a week. Well, that's not a terrible thing, because you're still hitting each muscle group 1 time a week. Conversely, if you're following a bro split, training each muscle group 1 time in a 7-day period, you get sick, you travel, work stuff, whatever, life stuff happens, well, half of your body parts weren't trained. So that is the negative end of a bro split, but yet a positive of doing the PPL. You're not going to be freaking out if you only train 3 days in a week because of life stuff. You still hit each muscle group once. Yeah, maybe the volume may not be there, but you're still getting in. Your muscles aren't going to fall off if this happens every once in a while. So to me, that is a great benefit. The flexibility of the frequency following a PPL compared to anything else where it's more spread out. To me, that is big time, because it keeps you in the game. Missing a day is not going to kill you compared to a bro split. It's actually a benefit. Now, when it comes to reps and sets and all that, again, everyone's a little bit differently, okay? Now, obviously, when I prescribe this routine to a beginner, the volume's going to be a little bit less, meaning they're not going to be doing as many sets per exercise, because I'm thinking about recovery. I'm thinking about they don't need it, but there is a progression. So once you complete one of my push-pull legs for 3 months, and you want to continue following that, you would then receive one with a little bit more volume, because your body can handle it. You're primed for it. Now, the scientific end of all this, and what's been shown most recently, is that you want to do anywhere between 6 to 12 sets in a week's period of time for each muscle group. Now, typically the higher end sets, like the 10 to 12, is usually for the larger muscle groups because they can handle more. The lower end, 6 to 8 sets, is usually for the smaller muscle groups like shoulders and arms. And the rest could be obviously chest, back, and legs. Now, where am I going with this? I'm going to explain the benefits of the PPL and the number of sets. Because ultimately, when you are training, and this range of sets is really what we call the working sets, not the total. So, give you a simple idea where I'm looking for and why the PPL is more beneficial than a bro split. We're training, let's say, your back and biceps, the push routine, where you can do 3 exercises for your back and then 2 for your biceps. So it's a total of 5 exercises. The first 3 exercises for your back, you would do 2 or 3 working sets, not including warm-ups. So you got your 2 or 3 working sets for 3 exercises. That could be 6 to 9 sets right there. So we're pretty close to the range already. the benefit is that you're going to do this again in 5 days, or I'm sorry, 4 days. So the volume is actually increased compared to doing your 10 to 12 sets if you were to do a bro split, training each muscle group once per week. So the frequency's there. And in fact, science has shown that if you do 12 sets a week, you have more benefits on splitting it up. What do I mean? So let's just say you do 12 working sets in a bro split on Wednesday. Boom. And then it's the next Wednesday that you do 12 sets again. Working sets. That's real sets, meaning you're getting close to failure. You're pushing yourself. Well, science and research, which is fantastic over the last 10 to 15 years of natural lifting especially, and breaking down of how to gain muscle, have shown that if you take those 12 sets, it is more beneficial if you have 6 sets of back on Monday and then 6 sets of back on Friday. Basically, in the 7-day period, you're doing the same amount of work, but it's equally separated because of the repetition that I was talking about earlier before. And also, anecdotally, you'll have more energy to make those 6 sets more quality separated versus trying to do 12 in one workout. And that goes to the adage that I always talk about, because I see people, oh, Joe, I want to add more. How's this work out? And it's a bunch of junk sets where they're just doing junk volume. Because if you're a natural bodybuilder listening, you're not going to be able to last, meaning adding 4 or 5 exercises for your biceps or whatever, because it's going to be fatigued. And if I always said as a trainer years ago, and I still say today, if you think you could do more work or should, you didn't work hard enough on those first 2 exercises that you need 3, 4, 5 exercises for any particular muscle group, especially a smaller one. So it's about the intensity level, because I think you can bring more intensity to each workout by spreading the number of volume over the week rather than trying to do a massive amount of volume per muscle group, because it just becomes junk and you're not going to have the intensity there to actually make it count. So that to me is very important, and I think that has helped me over the last 2 months switching to the PPL versus the 4-day split, where I would do 4 days on, 1 day off, repeat, and so on and so forth. That extra day of getting more repetition in for me while keeping my volume the same has actually been really beneficial. And again, is it smoke and mirrors? I don't know. I actually feel pretty good. I feel strong. I'm seeing progress, and I'm actually eager to lose, the 5 to 8 pounds that I want to lose over the next few months to uncover and see actually what's happening. So therefore, the push-pull legs has a lot of benefits, and I truly believe it could be great for a beginner as long as you do get the frequency in. Minimum 3, maximum 6, or even the most advanced lifter out there. And I like to consider myself more advanced because I've been weight training since the age of 19. It's been a long time, and I've tried all sorts of routines. And most recently, I'm favoring this, and I think it's worth a shot. So how am I actually approaching the PPL? And again, it's personalized, where I am following it. Yes, ideally, I'm trying to train 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. But I'm not stressing out if I miss a day because of travel, going to a show or whatever, work obligation or something happens. That takes some of that stress away. So that's a positive. So what I'm doing for my push and pull workouts, basically the lead off exercise for my chest, shoulder, tries is the same. And so is for my back. I'm doing a specific pull down. It's the same. But to keep the variety there and to mix it up psychologically, one day will be higher reps for that lead off exercise, and then the next time would be lower reps. So right now, for example, I'm doing a slight incline dumbbell press for my chest. That's the main lead off exercise for my push. I would be working on, like day 1 or workout A would be doing my 3 working sets after 3 warm-up sets of focusing on trying to hit a certain weight with 10 repetitions. So then when I go to workout B, the next time I do that same group of muscles, I am then doing 3 sets of 5 repetitions. So it's heavier weight. So therefore, that's the stimulus that I need for a change of pace instead of sticking with the same reps. But in addition, the secondary exercises are different. So if I'm doing chest A day, chest, push-pull legs, if I am doing the push workout, which comprises of chest, shoulders, and triceps, yes, I will stick with the same lead-off slight incline dumbbell press, but then the remaining exercises are going to be different compared to the next time I do it. So for example, without giving too many details and driving you crazy, the second chest exercise is going to be a cable fly, and then so on and so forth. When I repeat it in 4 or 5 days, yes, I'm sticking with the same slight incline dumbbell press, different rep scheme, but the second exercise is going to be a cable press, and so on and so forth. So within that 7 to 9 or whatever, 8 to 9 day time frame, I'm hitting my chest, shoulders, and triceps twice, sticking with the same exercise, but the additional or secondary stuff is all different. So it's not a terrible thing. Yes, could I have more progress doing the same exercises every 4 or 5 days? Yeah, but I think I would drive myself nuts. So therefore, I change them up. And very similarly, and I think this is even more beneficial when it comes to the leg routine, and this is the bread and butter, which I'm really enjoying. I have the same main leg exercise, which is the hack squat. Same principle of doing multiple sets for 10, and then the next time I do it, multiple sets for 5 repetitions. But one is posterior chain dominant, and the other one's anterior. So basically, routine A for the leg portion of the 3-day split is focusing on the posterior chain. That's the glutes, the hamstrings, and yes, the compound movement that's going to hit the quads. The second time I train legs in that rotation, yes, I'm sticking with the hack squat, main compound exercise, but it's going to be more focused on the quadriceps and different types of lunges and such. So that is how I am doing my push-pull legs, and this is how I've been enjoying it. Obviously, repetition is the key, sticking with it and finding your way. And that's why I initially was talking about when you figure out a routine, you want to make it your own so you actually enjoy it, so you can stick to it. And this is how I morphed it. Like after a couple of weeks when I started it back up, I was like, you know what? Let me do this with the reps and let me change the like a mad scientist fitting the pieces. And it's actually worked really well, and I enjoy working out. Not that I didn't before, but it's like, boom, let's get it done. So this is my argument on why I believe push-pull legs is ideal, especially for all fitness levels. And if you're in the off season now, as we know, growing muscle is the key for the biggest changes on your physique. Find something that works for you, and definitely you can give this a shot. This is just part of my coaching program where I do give a variety of workouts, and I probably have a dozen different push-pull leg routines available for clients, starting with lower volume to crazy volume. So hopefully this has been helpful, guys. Again, I appreciate all your support. I just wanted to share this information, especially if you're looking for a new routine or new ideas. Always looking forward to hearing from you. You can email me with your comments, franco@verizon.net. And of course, for coaching, never hesitate to reach out. Take care.